us now to discuss Cheryl Chumley. She's the opinion editor, that is, and the host of the Bold and Blunt podcast for the Washington Times and the author of the book, Lock Down, the Socialist Plan to Take Away Your Freedom. Cheryl, good to have you back with us.
Hi, Vince. It's great to be with you. Thank you.
What's going on here? Can AOC win this fight?
I don't see how she can, right? I mean, what is AOC's big claim to fame? It's just being a media hog. She doesn't really represent a large majority of American voters. And on immigration and border control, she is just so far left of left that really there's nobody that she represents there except the illegals who want to stay here. So she is just clamoring for her last gasp at relevancy, because under this new administration, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the socialist agenda, the whole squad is just being pushed back into the shadows, and they don't like that.
No, they don't. And that audio I played of her doing the so-called webinar, I mean, did you hear it too? It wasn't like she was merely saying, hey, look, these are what your rights are. This is how you can, you can talk to a lawyer about this. It was, hey, how do we straight up stop immigration enforcement from occurring? How do we slow it down? How do we frustrate it and make it difficult for federal law enforcement agents to do their job?
Yeah, that was key, right? Because I was listening intently to her webinar statement, and that was sort of the moment where, to me, it seemed like it crossed the line. It's one thing to talk about not opening the door or whatever, but it's another thing entirely to openly acknowledge that the whole agenda here, the whole aim, the whole goal is to just overwhelm the system so law enforcement can't do their due diligence and their duty. So that seemed pretty clear-cut to me, what she was saying.
Yeah. So right now the left doesn't have any meaningful leader. Like if I was to ask any random person on the street who's the leader of the Democrat Party, they wouldn't know at all how to answer that question. Is that one of the reasons AOC has any relevancy right now at the moment?
Yeah, and the media loves her, right? They really do. The leftists in the media that just love to carry forth the Democrat talking points, they love Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because she always puts on a good show, and it's good for media ratings, at least if you're on MSNBC. But yeah. In terms of putting forth anything that really adds to the intellectual debate or talking about policy that matters to most Americans, she really doesn't have a leg to stand on. And I think this is why the Democrat Party is pretty much rudderless right now, and they are searching for a foothold because Donald Trump has surrounded himself with some very determined, great people who are not playing that bow down game to the media. They're not trying to go behind closed doors and make deals with Democrats, and Democrats don't know how to handle that.
No, they don't. How do you assess the beginnings of this Trump presidency, Cheryl? I mean, what do you make of it? My view has been he's more than doing what he promised. He's beating my expectations for what a Trump presidency would look like.
Yeah, it's great, right? He has really gone beyond his first administration. When Donald Trump was president in 2017, he came in mostly by himself with the MAGA agenda, the America First agenda. Yeah. But he surrounded himself with people who maybe weren't in line with that. This time, it's not just Donald Trump. Every person that he has surrounded himself with so far is just as determined to bring back that America First type of atmosphere with politics and even with culture. He's talking about the importance of religion, the importance of God in society, in our politics. And he's not alone in this now. Really, he has like a very good team, and you can just see with, he's just fast and furious with the actions in his first few days in office.
Yeah, and he's an unusual figure in Washington because most people in Washington allow themselves to be carried by inertia. That is, whatever everybody else is doing, they pick a team and they kind of ride along. Trump actually introduces new force. He comes along and he's got something different to say. The American people really like it, and he's reinventing Washington itself as we speak.
And don't you think that terrifies Democrats, right? Because they don't know how to slow this roll except by going to court, which is what they're doing, right? Yeah. They filed, I don't know how many dozens of lawsuits. But Republicans this time, they are going forth with a policy as we await the court decisions. And normally that's what Democrats do. If you go back under Barack Obama, the pen and phone president, he would just pronounce this, pronounce that, and steamroll ahead with his very unconstitutional and in many ways un-American agendas, while Republicans sort of took that issue to court. And by then the damage was done. Well, this administration is just going full steam ahead and letting the Democrats run kicking and screaming into court and watch them as they scramble.
You know, it's you and I have talked about this through the years, but it's just so typical of the left. They're accusing Trump of inducing a constitutional crisis right now. Meanwhile, their people, like Joe Biden, straight up ignores the Supreme Court when they say, no, you can't randomly cancel student loan obligations. And then Biden, in his closing weeks as president of the United States, he literally tweeted out or posted to X that the so-called Equal Rights Amendment was now part of the Constitution. He added it just by tweet. He just said it's part of the Constitution now. Totally lawless and literally a constitutional crisis if people took him seriously, which thankfully they didn't. But that's the left once again projecting here onto Donald Trump.
Yeah, and they're not having much success this time. I mean, they really don't know where to dig in and fight because, as I said, it's not just Donald Trump on his own, right?
Yeah.
He's got Pam Bondi. He's got, Kennedy at HHS. He's withdrawn us from World Health Organization. He's got J.D. Vance going overseas. And it's just everywhere the Democrats look, there's an America First type of agenda that's going forth. And they're just fighting for relevancy. And they're fighting to regain their power.
Yeah. Do you think that they will learn any lessons from all of this? I mean, I'd be perfectly comfortable, I've been saying, with them disappearing into the wilderness and never returning. If the Republican Party splits up into two meaningful parties and has battles, that'd be fine with me. But the idea like that the left could come back from this, I wonder, they still think that the problem with the last election was their, quote, messaging and their, quote, narrative rather than their, quote, policies, Cheryl Chumley.
Yes. Yeah, they have so to answer your question, no, I don't think they're going to learn lessons. And one key indicator of that is just look at Elon Musk with DOGE, right? And what's happening with USAID. The Democrats have a real opportunity here to join together with Republicans because that is such an easy message to sell. Let's cut government waste. Yeah. Let's save taxpayers money that's been used for corrupt reasons. They could join forces and really make a dent with the American people for the midterm elections to show a unified approach to things that matter to American citizens, tax dollar waste and corruption in government. But they won't even do that. They're just fighting just ridiculous agendas and ridiculous waste of taxpayer money right now.
Yeah, well, that's what, Congressman Dean Phillips, former congressman, who ran, on this like quixotic effort to actually become the Democrat nominee last year. He came out recently and said, this is so stupid what Democrats are doing. They shouldn't try and beat them. They should join them. They should literally be helping Doge, but instead they're not, and they're really missing an opportunity here.
I agree completely. And instead, they send out the congressman from New York to cry about impeachment again. Really? Is that going to be the Democrats' big rally call once again to try and impeach Donald Trump for what? What are we on, like the 9th, 10th time now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. I know we're not, but really, Democrats are headed there, right, with the call for impeachment.
Yeah. Was it Representative Al Green of Texas who wants to impeach him for dastardly deeds? That was the which I think is hilarious. I think everyone, if you're going to be impeached, we should add that to the Constitution. Dastardly deeds should be a basis for getting rid of you. That's really funny. But that guy has tried to impeach Trump, I think, like 50 times at this point.
Yeah, and the phrase "dastardly deeds" it's not in the Constitution, right? But it reminds me of that cartoon with that dog, the
yes.
Dastardly dog or whatever.
No, you're talking about Dick Dastardly and his, what was the name of that dog? Oh, and Muttley. The name of the dog was Muttley, and he had that like sniggering laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Hanna-Barbera stuff. Wacky races. Yeah, that's a throwback.
You got to play that clip every time you play that congressman's call for impeachment.
You know what's just so funny? You say that. That's literally what I thought of. I thought of Dick Dastardly when he said dastardly deeds. But I was like, would anyone else get the reference? Cheryl Chumley got the reference. Cheryl, it's always so nice to talk to you at the Washington Times. Thank you for your